What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Green Room. We got some new faces on the pod today. If y'all are new here, basically we're just gonna recap Tuesday night, Mosaic on campus, things that we liked, stuff that we noticed. Hopefully y'all enjoy.
Man, if y'all missed it, we. Man, if y'all missed it, golly. Man, if y'all missed it, we preached out of John chapter 15, and the title was "I Feel Like Quitting."
So, after hearing the title, I feel like quitting. A lot came to my mind about that. The most thing that stuck out to me was like risk, because you got two options when it comes to quitting. You can risk or just kind of be a failure. And I think like what stuck out to me is in my life when I've gone through like trials or difficult things. Um, God always has rewarded the risk of sticking through it, and I think like like the message it mentioned, um, when you stick something out, then there's gonna be a reward on the other side of that, and so I've been thinking about that all week, and that's something I look forward to.
Yeah, that was also something that caught my attention. Whenever he said there's beauty on the other side of difficulty, and I think that's something that really hit home for me because uh, like I'm somebody that I would say I have been through a bunch of stuff where it's caused me to really sit back and contemplate quitting. And I think we've all been at places like that in our life where we don't even know if we can get through the situation we're in or why we're even in the situation we're in. And that's whenever we start to question God and ask why, you know what I mean? And I feel like when we start to ask why, that's whenever our faith has to come into place the most. You know what I mean? So I think knowing that there is beauty on the other side of difficulty. And Blake also said something. If he brought you to it, or he said.
Power over it. I'm here to tell you, don't you know that every single thing that ever has happened in your life has to go through his hand? That might be hard theology for you, but I'm here to tell you if it goes through his hand, he can turn it around for good. If it's out of his control and out of his hands, don't pray anymore, okay? But if it's in his hands, you can trust him with it, and you can know if he brought you to it, he'll bring you through it. He will. He will.
If he brought you to it, he'll bring you through it. And I think that was something that caught my mind as well because I feel like at times, like I said, we get to something and we really start to question, like, can we get through this? How in the world are we even going to be able to get through this? But if he brought you to it, like, he made you strong enough to get through it. And I think that's something that we all have to keep in the back of our minds, that we're in a certain situation for a reason, and that situation is going to make us grow, and he's going to get us through it.
Um, it was a couple of things that caught my mind during that. I think one, I think one that I've been thinking about the most was that we cannot we can't do this alone. Like we can't take on the journey alone. Like it's trying to trying to serve God and trying to follow Jesus is alone is a very hard process, and it's like something that we can't do because I know I tried it in my life when I hold up.
Good pause. Good pause.
Now I had to pause because I almost teared up a little bit.
Let him flow, bro. Let him flow, bro. Deep on.
But yeah, I feel like when we try to like follow the Lord alone, and we try to go through all these like difficult times and like these difficult moments like by ourselves, like I feel like we find ourselves like in a deeper place than where we at. But like having someone along with you on that journey is like it makes the journey like 10 times better. Like having somebody that's like that can hold you accountable, and somebody that can um just keep you uplifted in the day, and somebody that you can just go and talk to and like, man, I just need a prayer. I want to talk about this, or just having like Bible studies with that person. trying to do all that stuff alone, man, is you find yourself kind of like deep where you are, because like it's kind of hard to find like motivation in those times, especially like when you're like going through things alone, and you try to like hold all these emotions in, and like all the feelings that you've been feeling, you're trying to hold it in, and you not want to express it, and doing that, and then trying to follow God at the same time, is just like, I feel like that's something that's very hard to do. Like, so just having someone that you can talk to, like having someone that prays for you, just having that close friend, I think is like one of the most important parts of following Christ. And I think another thing that kind of stood out to me was when he was saying, like when God's called us to be something, we look at that something and be like, well, I don't know if I can do that. Well, I don't know if that was meant for me, but he called us into it. And I think it's just like, I mean, that going off like you said, like when we take the risk of moving forward and not being so scared to see what's on the other side because we think that we can't do it. I feel like that's part of the enemy's tactics of throwing us all the discomfort and all the I'm not worthy and all these other things that he try to throw at us to try to not get us to where we belong, because God sees way ahead of us, and the enemy, he sees what we have with us also. So he tries to do all these things just to get us thrown off track. And I just feel like once we just step into it and just take that leap of faith and trust God and believe in him and what he has for us, I think that's like and then there's no that's the hold on, let me pause because I'm finna get to stuttering. And that goes off another thing that Blake was saying, that we should do more trusting and not much thinking. Yeah, yeah.
You can't, people want to trade what God gave them for something else because they think, man, you stop thinking. I start trusting, okay?
We should do more trusting and less thinking, because I feel like we think about it, like we think and ponder over our situation, and we just think about it for so long that all he's waiting on is just for us just to move. And once we move and rely on him and trust in him, then we'll find out our true purpose and what he has for us, and we'll see what's on the other side.
For sure. I think you just said some really great stuff, bro. Like about the moving alone. I think we all have problems where we're in situations and we're like, man, how am I going to get through this alone? But like we forget that we're never alone. You know what I mean? Like in any situation, whether we're anxious, stressed out, depressed, stuff like that, like we're never alone. And it's crazy because like one prayer could really fix everything. You know what I mean? And I think we take that for granted sometimes, where it's like, man, I'm asking for all this stuff, but like, when is it going to happen? Or like, I'm praying for this, I'm praying for that, and I haven't seen it yet. But like, God works in miraculous ways. So it's like we might think that he's going to do it this way, and he does it a whole different way. And then once we open our eyes to it, we're like, oh shoot. And then that not thinking and trusting more was something that also caught my mind, because there's been so many times where, like you say, like, when he calls us to something, like I feel like this is something that's like been on my heart lately, because like I play football, you know what I mean, and I've always felt like my calling has been sports, like baseball, football, something. But recently, I just felt like my calling's elsewhere, and like I feel like my God is calling me more into a leading role, whether it's like ministry or I don't know, like I really don't know, but I feel like it's just my calling really isn't as much football anymore as I once thought it was. So like this really hit me whenever he said I feel like quitting, because I had just talked to Blake on Sunday, like the past Sunday or a couple Sundays ago, and I was like, bro, I'm in a situation right now where it's like I don't know if this football stuff's for me anymore. Like I feel like my calling's elsewhere. Like I genuinely feel like quitting, and he was like, bro, just stick it out, like cause He said God might make you stay in football so that you can disciple through the football team. And like just like that, like that's a way of God answering a prayer in a different way that I don't expect him to answer the prayer. You know what I mean? So I feel like we just, like Blake said, we got to stop thinking so much and just start trusting him, and trusting the path that he has for us. Because I mean, it's a hard walk, but it's not a lonely walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think like going off what you are saying, like doubt is something that we all struggle with, and in reality, like doubt is just a lack of faith. Um, Doubting ourselves, we get anxious, depressed. That's something that's really been like affecting our generation, and I think that people will come to church and do the right thing and show up, but they don't have like a relationship with Jesus outside of the building, and then they don't really know God's heart and God's heart for them. So they're just moving on, their own path without a direction. And faith is just putting one foot in front of the other and saying yes to a maybe, and just trusting God. Like you were saying, like miracles don't happen without trust. You know, Peter, he never would have walked on water if God wouldn't have called him out, and then he moved on that trust. Um, and really, that's just something that I've been struggling with as well. Just in my stage of life, I'm about to graduate in May, at the end of this year, and I'm doubting, where am I going to live? What am I going to do? And something that God is calling me to recently and put on my heart is just trust me, I got you right now. And so that's been giving me hope, and I'm just being present where I'm at, and then just making each day mean something. Because I feel like we all have a moment or a place where we're at. And for you, like football, like someone told you, stick it out, be faithful. And so I think that once we start laying things down, and giving them to God, then He'll reward that. Because that goes along with risk. God will reward risk. Um, even the smallest things or the biggest things of your life, like a career or whatever that may be, relationships. Yeah.
And I feel like that's something we talked about on the last episode was moving on to maybe, and I think that relates back to taking the risk. And whoa, man, for the people that don't know, there's construction going on in the back, and it's wild out here. It's wild, but Mosaic on the come up. Trust. No, but like I was saying, just moving on that maybe. Like he rewards risk. This whole leadership role, like it was a maybe for me, and like I moved on it, and it's brought me y'all. Like obviously I knew you before, but like I knew of you, but now I feel like we're way closer, and it's awesome. I think it's something like another word that stuck with me was that one was crazy. Uh, was we're made to bear fruit, and we can't expect to bear fruit and not get cut.
And I think for a lot of us, we believe that because we said yes to Jesus and we started this walk of faith with him, that we expect pruning isn't part of it. But I'm here to tell you, pruning is essential to your faith. It's essential for you to bear more fruit. I think the biggest thing that we need to realize is we can't live a life that pleases God, that bears a lot of fruit, and expect not to get cut. It's part of it.
So like this life it's not easy. This life with God is not easy. Like the walk with Jesus is not easy, but we're made to bear fruit, and we're made to disciple unto other people, and to help other people and to lead other people towards Jesus, but it's not going to be easy. You know what I mean? And he's going to put obstacles in front of you to test you. And it's like when you're getting tested, yes, it might be the enemy, but at the same time, it could be Jesus as well, trying to see where you are in your walk. You know what I mean? So I think just keeping your faith and expecting to get cut, because you're going to get cut. at some point you're gonna get cut. Life's gonna life. You know what I mean? But just stay solid and have faith. And when you feel like quitting, like we said, like just pray. One prayer could fix everything. You know what I mean?
I feel like, you know, you know, just thinking about how my life, is going right now, you know, going back to the trust, I think trust is probably one of the main things that's like major like in my life right now, and like bearing fruit. Um, because where I was before I came here, I was at a school in Atlanta, and I was going through injury with football, and you know, questioning why am I still going through this? It's been years on top of years on top of years that I've been going through it, and as I'm going through this, whole process, like now that I think, back on it, I think there was no trust in God in that time. Like I was just so relying on these other things, like all these medications and all these therapies and all this other stuff that I was going through. I was relying on that to get my pain away, but I wasn't really relying on God for my pain. Like I was always contemplating and complaining, like, God, why? Like, I feel like my calling here is football. Like I'm supposed to like to go far with football and provide for my family, and I'm supposed to do this and do that, but I wasn't trusting in him on what he had for me. So, it got me to the point where I am now, where, you know, I was basically going through the same thing when I came here, and, I went and told the trainers about it, how I was feeling, and, they basically just gave me, straight up, like, we've done all we could. From that point on, that like broke me down, because it's like, man, like I know I'm here for football. Like why won't this pain just go away? But it was God just telling me this whole time, you're gonna trust me either way. Like you have no choice but to trust in me. But but the construction. um, but I think during that process, God was just telling me, like, you have to trust me. You have to trust on what I have for you. Yeah, you may think your calling is sports, but that's not what I have for you. So when he took that away from me, once he took football away from me, like now I'm currently not playing. So it's like the biggest thing in my life right now is trusting God and bearing fruit where I'm at, and bringing others, and expanding the kingdom of heaven, and bringing others to Christ, where I'm at. So it's like trust is like one of the major things that's like playing a part in my life right now. And like now that I'm sitting here now, doing a podcast, like leading others, it just takes me back to like when I'm back at home, and like how all the little kids and the even adults and the kids who I don't even know, like, come up to me and like say that they always been watching me and like watching my growth, and like they always like they've been a fan. So it's like, just being here now, just it makes me think like leadership is my real calling. Like God has me here to lead others, and to bring others, to Christ. So, you know, trust is trust is what I'm going through right now. And I just thank God for where I'm at now. I just thank him for all the hard times and the difficult times that I went through, and just making me, putting me through a moment where it's for like my identity is stripped from me. Because for a very long time, my identity was football. It's football here, football there. You're going here, you're going, making the big money. You're going all these different places with football. And just like now, since that is stripped from me, and it's like, who am I now? Like, what are you gonna do now? And just feel like just with me just trusting God and like what He has for me and where He's gonna take me is what's been keeping me up, and like you say, just giving me hope. Just trusting Him and believing, where He's taking me.
Yeah, I go back to the passage and think about like bearing fruit and what it means to abide in Him, um, and basically just means remain, um, remain in Him even through the trials, through the hard times. Take the risk, and He'll reward that. Um, when He was talking to the disciples, the first passage, like the first verse right after that, He said, "Love people as I've loved you." Um, And I think that's like what it means to bear fruit is just how you impact the lives of others. Like y'all were saying, like what does it mean to be a leader of people and to disciple people and walk with people? Um, and then that goes just back to being present, like not worrying about the future, because how are you going to take care of someone if you're focused on yourself? And I find myself only focusing on me. Like I feel like 90% of the day, it's like, what am I doing for myself? And then, I leave 10% for other people and people that I love. And I think that we're called just to, well, Jesus says, die to yourself. Um, so I think putting other people first is like the next move for me. Um, and, I encourage anyone, to take care of people. And then you'll see your personal growth in that and see how God blesses you in that. And that's what I've learned recently is just trying to be present where I'm at and then love other people well.
I like that. I feel like as people, we're just selfish. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's my life. Like, we're in this life for us. But like you said, once we start putting other people first, that's whenever we'll see real growth in ourselves. And I know it is hard. And that was a situation that I also had to find in myself, was to put others first. Because I felt like I was kind of like tired in the spot that I was in. And it's crazy because Blake was talking and he said, we get tired in something that we finish, or we get tired in something that we start because God's at the starting line still. You know what I mean? So it's like we start things and we start moving a certain way whenever God don't even want us to do that. You know what I mean? Or it's like he was saying, bro, because you know how Blake be in our business. I don't know about y'all, but he be in everybody's business, where he was like, we're forcing this relationship. Why isn't it working? And God up there like, bro, I don't even want, like, you don't even like her for real. You know what I mean? Like, bro, like, or why don't I have this job? Like, why can't I get this job? And God like, bro, that's not you. Like, that's not you. And I think we have a tough time realizing that half the time when none of this stuff is working, it's not that it's us. It's not that it's we're the problem that it's not working. It's because God doesn't want it to work. You know what I mean? So I think going to God first and asking Him, like, what do you want for me? And that's how we abide and remain in Him, because He says that we are supposed to abide and that He'll cut off every branch in us that bears no fruit. You know what I mean? So just remain in Him, and I think that's whenever we'll see super growth, and like focusing on what other people need of us instead of like how we can better ourselves just with us. You know what I mean?
Um, think like, going back on that selfish topic. I kind of think back that I was like during a point in my life where I was like very selfish, um, like doing very selfish things and only caring about myself, and just looking at where that got me. It got me somewhere where I
They gotta be building something.
yeah, they better put a game room or something back. But but yeah, like just thinking back on like all like the selfish stuff I was doing, like for my own personal need, and for my own desires, and like, and just thinking of where that got me, and
Um, so one thing I noticed like on Tuesday was just like the amount of new faces and like the hospitality in the room. I felt like as a collective, like it felt like family. Just like walking in there, and during the worship, people felt free, and I felt the Holy Spirit moving me. Um, at one moment, I stepped by myself and just had a moment with the Lord, and felt Him, encouraging me. And then in that moment, I was just showed gratitude, because when I'm worshiping by myself or in the car, that's my like quiet time, and that's when I just like lay things down, and I felt like people had the courage to do that, and I don't know what um, each person walked in with, but I felt like they walked out different because of that. Um,
No, I would say I think they said we had like 50 more people than we had last Tuesday, and like the number doesn't matter. That like the amount of people that go in there doesn't matter because we're worried about building like genuine connections and like people that actually want to be there for God. But just to see that, like, just to see all the new faces, like you said, in there was amazing, man. It's awesome because I really feel like God's moving on this campus in like ways that I've never felt before. And I mean, just the energy that was out there on Tuesday was crazy. And it was like as soon as worship started, I had chill bumps, and like it wasn't even cold in the room. So I was like, man, he's here, like he's here. And it was just like, man, we had a people came to the stage to pray. People were coming to the stage to worship, bro. Like it was awesome, dude. It was something that really excites me to see that God's not only moving in us, but He's moving in the people that we're connecting with, and like the people that are coming to Mosaic and small groups and just interacting with us, man. It's awesome to see.
yeah, I definitely feel like God was in the room for real. Like He was definitely moving through people, and like um, just seeing like the energy that was flowing out through the room, like just seeing like people worshiping, and like I even seen this one guy, he's in there like shaking, and I was like, oh my goodness, like we're like, yeah, like God is on you for real. So you know just seeing stuff like that is like a wonderful thing to see. It just seeing how God is like changing these people's lives, and like what they're doing for them, and how He just reminds them of how good He is, and how He's been so good to all of us, and that He can like never do us no wrong, and He will like never leave us nor forsake us. And just seeing that on Tuesday, and like all those things that were going on, man, it was amazing to see. Just seeing people jumping around and like worshiping Him, and I was like, whoa, this is outstanding. But
But yeah, bro. I mean, like the amount of people I saw out there, like just freely worshiping and everything like that. Like it just felt like peace. You know what I mean? Like peace all in a room, and like same wavelength of energy flowing through everybody. Like I saw somebody in the back standing at the very top, like worshiping, going crazy. Like it was amazing, dude. It was great. But I think something else that caught my attention was people interacting and like reacting whenever Blake was saying something good with like claps and stuff like that. And like that's so dope. That's so dope because we're trying to build a culture where it's not just like a church where Blake says something good and we're all just looking at him. You know what I mean? Like we're like clapping along and yeah, like man, that was good. That's good, Blake. Like there was more of that. Like, and it wasn't just like the leaders in the room. It was the actual crowd. So it's awesome to see like when people see us doing something, they're gonna follow. You know what I mean? So it's awesome seeing how all that's panning out.
yeah, I think no matter how much like Blake will prepare a message and have his notes, have what scripture he's working on, I think um, his trust in the Lord just to show up and to give him the words to say. And then like you mentioned like people like praising during the sermon, just like clapping. That's something that just kind of proves the Holy Spirit is there. Like people have the courage to agree with what he's saying. And it's not just Blake's words, but it's, God speaking through him. And I think that Blake did do the prep, and shout out to Blake and the band. But God was moving in that room, and you could just tell, like, from the moment you walked into the worship to the sermon, like, people did feel changed. So that was, like, super encouraging. And then the steps that they took afterwards, we had people signing up to get baptized, their first time coming to church, maybe their last time coming to church, to just try it out. And, that's what it's all about. We're just trying to, like, reach those people who are giving God, like, one last shot. And I think, like, that's what we want to set the tone. Like, God will change your life in this room, but on campus. Like you were saying, like, I think we're building a wave, and, like, once people hop on, like, there's no stopping it. Yeah.
There's no getting off. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. I think that's going to wrap us up today for episode 2 of The Green Room. We thank y'all for tapping in. Join us next Mosaic on Campus, October 10th.